With her story on hallowed ground, please welcome to the mass stage, Megan Pratt.
I'm not hugging anyone because I have a terrible cold. So it's wonderful to see you. Is this too loud? It sounds weird. Thank you for having me back. Coming home and on hallowed ground, that sounded really good a month ago. What I wanted to talk about though was signs and symbols and messages from beyond. And those are all things that I believe in. And I believe in those kinds of things because I heard a message from my brother on my mom's cell phone 4 years after he died, 10 years after he died, from a 1-800 number that doesn't exist, with a message that was nothing I've ever heard before in my life. And I believe in things like that because when my brother did die, shortly after he died, he came to me. And it was like it was a dream, except I wasn't asleep. And he said, "Baby, I'm okay." And that's what he called me baby. And he said, "I'm okay, baby, I'm okay. Don't worry about me. Take care of you. Take care of the kids. This is how it's supposed to be. I'm okay." And he must have been, but he would come around every now and again and he would flicker the lights in our house. And lights that didn't flicker before Sean died, they would flicker in the kitchen and they would flicker in the bathroom. And it was really kind of cool because I knew he was still checking in on me. And then one day the bathroom lights were flickering and I'm like, dude, I'm brushing my teeth, naked. And so we set some boundaries between life and death, and he must have thought I was okay after that because he hasn't been around much anymore. But then my grandma, you know, and so now I believe in dream weavers too, because my grandma, when she died, she came, and I wasn't asleep, but and she sort of was like on a balcony, maybe like watching a parade, and her favorite jacket with like tons of other people that I didn't recognize, and she was smiling like it was Christmas, and she said, "Kid, it's like everything you ever hoped it would be." And so I'm like, okay, so grandma found her way home too. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then my dad died, and this is why I believe in messages from beyond, because everybody I love dies. So if I've pushed you away, it's because I'm afraid you're going to die. And so Dad passed away long before we expected Dad to pass away, and just this long illness from pancreatic cancer. And so he came to me, and you know, kind of like a dream, except I wasn't asleep. And he was on his horse, and his favorite horse, Newt. And there was a meadow and this beautiful blue sky, and he kind of leaned down and he said, "I'm just going to take a few laps around and see if it's okay." And it must have been okay because he hasn't been back. And so I'm like, Dad's home. That's awesome. They're home, they're safe, they're okay. But what Sean has done for me all this time is he sends me feathers. Good things happen, bad things happen. Just if I need reassurance, there will be a feather. And little feathers or fluffy feathers and white feathers, I mean, they're kind of some of the most awesome ones. And so how this comes around is that 4 years ago, if I was a guy and grew a ponytail and had a red convertible, you would have called it my midlife crisis. But since I'm a girl, I don't know that we have a name for it, but I seriously went through this phase of, oh my God, something amazing was supposed to happen to me, and I effing missed it. Because I am like 40-something, I'm not married anymore, I have these kids, none of us, I'm not famous, I'm not on TV, I'm just a girl, and I was really just pissed about it. I'm pissed. And so everything in my life started to just piss me off. And my job was like, your job? I hated it. And discouraged every day. And the kids were like unhappy, or maybe I was just projecting my unhappiness onto them. And I had this relationship with this amazing man, and all of a sudden he was on my nerves, and I'm like, everything can't be wrong at the same time. But it kind of was, and I'm like, I need a red convertible or something. So I decided that the most amazing thing to do, the best thing for me to do, was to move, because geography was clearly my problem. So I packed up this teenager, and I packed up my stuff, and I said to this guy, I love you. I do. I love you. I just don't know if I can be here right now. And so I'm going to move out. And he said, what? I said, but I still want to go out with you. I don't want this to be over. And because he's either amazing or stupid, he not only helped me move my stuff out, he still likes me. It's kind of weird. So I'm in this apartment. And this apartment is the piece of land in Redwood Falls where my grandpa grew up. This is the house. I mean, this is the corner on the street where my grandpa's house was. Their big 4-house where my grandpa ate his dinner there on Sundays, and he and his brothers, and they played. And my great grandma kept house there, and my mom would go there when she was little to see her grandma. And then when my great-grandpa passed away, Grandma, she's kind of a little round person and short like I am. It's hereditary. And they took down the house and they built an apartment building, and with steps she could manage with her short little legs, which are hereditary. And so my great-grandma lived there, and they made these apartments for these women so they could be older and close to things downtown and still be independent and have a nice rent that they can manage on their Social Security. And so I'm living here in this apartment, and it's my family home. This is hallowed ground for me. I mean, this is amazing that this place exists where I can go back and I can find myself and maybe start over and figure out what I missed, where I was supposed to be amazing. And so to top it all off, there were feathers. There were just feathers everywhere. And I would get home from work from this job that I hated because I wasn't smart enough to quit it just then. But I would walk up the front sidewalk and there were feathers everywhere. And I'm like, this has to be absolutely the right, perfect thing for me to do, because how could there be all these feathers from Sean if he wasn't giving me, yes, baby, you got this, you're doing it. And so I was a huge smoker back there. I mean, if there was a chimney in the area, it was probably just me. And so I would go outside and have a cigarette and play Scrabble on my phone and pay attention to nothing else. And I'm out there one afternoon, and I happened to look up, and a semi was going by my house. And it was loaded with turkey cages with white feathers. And as this semi-truck is going by on the Turkey Ho Chi Minh Trail, there are white feathers flying out from the back of this truck everywhere, showing me that not only am I not getting messages from my dead brother who loves me, I'm in the wrong place. Completely in the wrong place. And so it only really took one more personal tragedy to smack me over the head and realize that I really needed to go home. And home for me is where I'm safe and where I'm loved and where I'm accepted, even though I'm not awesome, amazing, or on TV. And that's at home with Danny. So I went home. Thank you.